Stetson or Kirk? You make the choice. This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, Los Angeles.
Live from the Land Cave, I'm Joe Trosian, and this is RamView, the June 23rd, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. Having a little trouble with the mic here. Can you hold on 1 second? Where is that mic? That mic is giving me a hard time. I'm going to step away. For a second and work this thing out. And here we go. All right. That was a little awkward for the broadcast, but it is good to be here. I'm Joe Trosian, and I hope you heard that. This is RamView, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident, need help, got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. Okay, we're good. All right. And by Temple City Auto Repair, having some auto issues, get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And so interesting that last show for a week. Yes, I know. Last show for a week, and we're doing it like we're a bunch of amateurs. So I apologize for that. Real quick here, before we get into some Ram talk and Stetson and Kirk, I saw the NBA draft last night. And I didn't know all the players. I didn't know everyone that got out there. I was familiar with some of them. I am familiar, but used to be a big NBA fan. The one thing that I noticed that just stood out to me was the clothes the dudes were wearing. And I know it gets more outlandish every year, but if you literally, someone asked you, could you wear that in my neighborhood? I'm thinking of no, man, heck no. I believe you get your butt kicked in my neighborhood if you showed up in an outfit like that. I mean, it was just, after a while, doesn't anybody talk to these guys and say, hey, bro, just put on a suit, just put on a suit and just be cool, trying to out-fashion the fashion. And that stick white kid from Kansas wearing that the ruby slippers jacket was I don't know. That wasn't impressive to me. I don't know. I'd think about drafting him twice if I about drafting him. If I saw he was going to show up in that outfit. And he'll probably end up an All-American or an All-NBA player. I don't know. The things that stuck out last night in the draft, though, Wembanyama, the French guy, 7'4", runs the court, can shoot a little, he's good offensively. He's Ralph Sampson. No, I was watching it last night. I didn't hear, maybe I missed it, but I didn't hear anyone bring up Ralph Sampson. Wembanyama is 7'4". Ralph Sampson is 7'4". Ralph Sampson could run the floor. Ralph Sampson was a 3-time college player of the year. Ralph Sampson had 3 really good years in the NBA before his knees went, and things didn't go so well for him after that, even after his career. But I'm looking at Wembanyama, and maybe he's a little more polished than Sampson. I'll give you that. Maybe he's a little more skilled. But 7'4", built like a stick, and running up and down the floor. I was just surprised that no one brought up Ralph Sampson. I thought UCLA's Jaime Jaquez going to the Heat was a perfect fit. I never thought about that before, but Jaquez may not have been the most talented player, but he was the best person to watch at UCLA. I don't know what my UCLA friends would think of that, but I enjoyed watching Jaime Jaquez because that dude poured everything into everything he did. And you know what? He looks a little bit like his game looks a little bit like Jimmy Buckets, right? Because he just gets the most out of what he does. You don't think of what Jimmy Buckets does athletically as much as you think of what he does in just great court sense and work ethic. And Jaquez, I'm not saying he's Jimmy Butler, but he was a great choice. I do agree, real quick, with those not down with Chris Paul going to the Warriors. I don't get it. He's ancient, right? Unless you're not going to start playing him any minutes until February, I really don't get it. He's going to break down on you. He's the Pinto of the NBA right now. And you might want to consider, I don't know, I guess the Warriors got something going on, their version of the Over the Hill gang. One of the things is I was scrambling to stay out of desperate dead period material because this is desperate dead period time. A couple of signings here, nothing much happening on the transaction front in the NFL. I was hitting everywhere. I was hitting Jim Rome. I hit Cowherd. I hit everything. And what came up was hyped players always making it. And so I just went to my Sports Illustrated background here, and I looked at all the high school players that were hyped up. Colin Cowherd made a big deal about, hey, a lot of these players, they're the most hyped players. They all made it. 7 out of 8 made it, or something he said on the radio today. And so I looked at just who was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. If you're on the cover of Sports Illustrated while you're in high school, you are being hyped up. And see if these names mean anything to you. Rick Mount, Tom McMillan, Mike Peterson, Bruce Hardy, Bobby Carpenter, Christy Phillips, John Peters, Kevin Garnett, LeBron James, Sebastian Telfair, Bryce Harper, Jabari Parker, Hunter Greene, Imani Bates. Rick Mount had a nice career at Purdue, brief career in the ABA. Tom McMillan played for the Knicks, played at University of Maryland, made it to Congress, actually. He was a congressman for a while. Mike Peterson was a Kansas schoolboy who never played a moment of professional ball or even major college ball in any sport. Bruce Hardy was a tight end for about 8 or 9 years with the Dolphins, and not spectacular. Bobby Carpenter. I don't know if anyone remembers this. The Kings had Bobby Carpenter for a while, but literally Sports Illustrated listed Bobby Carpenter as the can't-miss kid in hockey. And he had 1 All-Star appearance. And he was parts of 3 seasons with the Kings. He was part of the deal that sent Dion away. His best year was 1985, 95 points. He was a center, won a Stanley Cup, but didn't make any All-Star, made no further All-Star teams, never broke the 100-point barrier. He had an average career. Christy Phillips was going to be the new Mary Lou Retton. John Peters was the pitcher. I had that. I had actually physically had that SI edition where John Peters was the Texas high school phenom, 51-0 in high school, and his career was done by the time he was 21. Kevin Garnett, LeBron James, obviously. Sebastian Telfair. Remember Sebastian Telfair? 13th overall by Portland. When he was in high school, was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. He was the next great thing. He was on 9 teams in 10 seasons, and his career ended in China in 2017. Never averaged more than 9 points a game in the NBA. And he's a classic example of why the NBA should keep its big fat hands off of high school players. Bryce Harper. Okay, Bryce Harper's really good, but I heard someone putting him in the Hall of Fame already. I wouldn't put Bryce Harper in the Hall of Fame. In fact, I'd think about the year after he left the Washington Nationals. The Washington Nationals won the World Series. Just saying. Jabari Parker on the cover of Sports Illustrated, number 2 overall out of Duke in 2012. Had a couple of decent years with the Bucks, averaged 20 points a game in 1 year, playing only 50 games. He's been on 6 teams, bounced around the league, hasn't been on a team for he got released last year by the Celtics, I think it was. Hunter Greene, he's in with the Reds right now. He's 7-17 with a 4.25 ERA. And Imani Bates made the cover of SI. He was supposed to go number 1 overall in this year's draft. About a year ago, they were projecting him, and it turned out he went number 49 overall to the Cavs. And so, talking about players getting hyped up, players get hyped up too soon, and it's not a lock. And if the media is telling you somebody's going to make it all the time, don't trust the media, okay? Just hold back and wait, because you never know what's going to happen. I remember the legendary Al McGuire, and you would never question anything Al McGuire says. Al McGuire was it when it came to basketball, knew the game inside and out. Al McGuire was fantastic when it came to basketball. And even Al McGuire said 10 years after he's left college, Ralph Sampson is going to be the only player that anyone ever talks about. He's going to be the greatest player in the NBA. And no, they couldn't even mention Ralph Sampson last night when a 7'4" center big man was drafted with the same build and roughly the same skills as Ralph Sampson. They didn't even remember his name. Okay, moving on here. NHL banning caused-based jerseys. Good for them, right? Why should a player who's employed to play hockey have to advocate for a social cause or have to advocate for a political cause? And we know the story of the NHL players refusing to wear the rainbow jersey, and they took a lot of heat for it. And NHL made a smart move. Why do this? The Dodgers could learn a little bit from the NHL. Don't insult your fan base. Don't insult your fan base. So good for them. Another thing that came up here was the women's soccer team. This news broke. This happened about a week or two ago, where they were in a tournament in England. And I'm not asking about Kingman's performance. I'm asking about the women's soccer team's performance. And the women's soccer team, they lost 3 games in this TST soccer tournament, winner take all over there in England. And they lost to some teams that weren't, they're not exactly Premier League teams. FC Dallas, they was the team they lost to a couple years ago, 5-2. If you remember that, they made a big deal about it. They lost to, in this tournament, they lost to Sayward, Wrexham Red Dragons, and Como 1907. They lost by a combined score of 24-1. And I bring that up is that these aren't players that are the top of the line men's players. They've lost to boys 15-year-old and under. And can we just settle this hash and stop having stupid conversations in Congress? Men and women, I'm going to get canceled, are different. They're different. And women cannot compete with men athletically at the same level. That's why we have men's sports, and that's why we have women's sports. If you don't like that, check out the FloJo analogy on her fastest time running the 100 meters and comparing that to the fastest men's time ever, and find out where she ends up on the scale. Rest her soul. All right, let's get out of that now. Some Ram news. Stetson Bennett signs. Isn't that great? Okay, moving on. No, I am kind of excited now about Stetson Bennett. You get excited when you see who the right people are being excited about him. I do trust Les Snead. I do trust McVay. They've earned that trust, but it is going to be interesting to see if Bennett is more than just a backup, if they actually think he could be something more. If Brock Purdy can be something, can the Rams craft an offense after Matthew Stafford and have Bennett be the heir apparent, or be the bridge that takes us to the next phase? Really, honestly, folks, you shouldn't be considering Caleb Williams. All right, that's Santa has a better chance of coming down your chimney in July than Caleb Williams has of ending up in a Rams uniform next year. But the interesting thing also, desperate dead period material, right? Desperate dead period material. Mike Florio was sharing that when Kirk Cousins becomes a free agent after playing out his last season here in Minnesota, that the Rams and the 49ers are going to be going after him. If Brock Purdy is anywhere near healthy, the 49ers aren't going to have to go after Kirk Cousins. He's actually older than Matthew Stafford. And the Rams, why would they go after Kirk Cousins? I mean, it feels kind of Goff-esque, right? Haven't the Rams had that? And I just thought that was a reach. And for Mike Florio, who does this full time, his entire living, he's not hawking books like I am to make a living here, or encouraging people like, click, subscribe, and all that. He's doing a good job in terms of making money. But for someone who's doing this full time, Florio should really work a little harder. That was a really weak take, and it just smells so bad of desperate dead period material. Desperate dead period material also is Melvin Gordon doesn't like what's happening with running backs, and he blames Sean McVay. I saw that all over social media. I guess it was an interview with Jim Rome, but I saw it all over social media. And the running back position, it's toast, baby. It is. When you could win with Darrell Henderson and Cam Akers and Sony Michel, when you could win with 7th round Isaiah Pacheco, you don't need to pay big bucks to a running back, and you can spread that out a little bit to the rest of the team, and maybe it should be going to your offensive lineman. But the world has changed, and there'll be the outlier every now and then, but the world has changed. Desperate dead period material continued. I do have a pet peeve with top 100 lists. Of course, this came out, I think, Monday. I talked about it, and the whole idea and concept that the Rams should be a Matthew Stafford wasn't in the top 100, and he wasn't in the top this and top that. I've had him ranked 12th out of NFL quarterbacks, behind Tua and Kirk Cousins and everything. And stupid rankings. Who buys it? Would you trade those guys for Kirk? Would you trade Stafford for those guys? Of course you wouldn't. But it's just people get so worked up about these things, and all it is clickbait. I know we did this when I was working at Mid-Valley Sports. We would create a list of the best players because we wanted to start conversation, but it achieves nothing. It accomplishes nothing. In a sense, it really means nothing. When you come out with these top 100, and I read names like Justin Jefferson in the top 10 and Lamar Jackson and even Tua, players that haven't even had playoff success or been to a conference final or in all this. Who cares? Who cares? Who cares what you accomplish and how great your stats are and how pretty you look in the great play if your team's not winning, right?
I get nowhere unless the team wins.
It's true. You don't get anywhere unless the team wins. Football is a game that can spotlight the individual, but can never shake the team concept. It's binary. It's right there. It's right next to them, to each other. Two great players can carry you to a title in the NBA. We just saw that. Two great starting pitchers can be the difference in winning a World Series. And oh, how Mike Trout wishes. And two great players in the NFL gets you two players in the top 100 list. But
I get nowhere unless the team wins.
That's right. Team. You get nowhere unless the team wins. Okay. Tyreek Hill, still waiting news on him. Saquon Barkley still in conversation. Before we take the break, let's get to the Kistler Law Rams trivia question of the day. Concerns Rams linebacker, Hall of Fame great Kevin Greene. Called the linebacker, but if played now and then, of course, nowadays he would be classically referred to as an edge instead of just an outside linebacker. Well, Rams linebacker Kevin Greene was a firm supporter of the military, so much so that he enlisted and worked his way up to which rank? A, corporal, B, captain, C, lieutenant, or D, general. Kevin Greene was enlisted in the military and worked his way up to which rank? A, corporal, B, captain, C, lieutenant, D, general. And we'll settle that for you at the end of the show. All right, my name is Joe Terosian. In spite of this awkward day today with some mic issues, things not turned on and mixers not where they're supposed to be. I have been a sports writer for 21 years. I write books. I pastor a small church in Burbank, and I do RamView. And my book writing, my best book in terms of sales, Tangent Dreams, a high school football novel, sold really well, got some great reviews. You might want to check that out. And this helped me to stay in business doing my day job as I pastor a small church in Burbank, Burbank Faith Naz. You could also catch us on Burbank Faith Virtual, which is a channel right here on YouTube and all across social media. And so, yeah, I write books. I was a founding member at Mid-Valley Sports. Those guys are still clicking away. They are in the room with the Chargers. I do RamView thanks to my sponsors at Kistler Law. That's one word, KistlerLawFirm.com, and Temple City Auto Repair. Okay, commercial in, getting back into some rhythm here. One of the things I thought was interesting, looking at desperate dead period material, was the Rams have every team has a practice squad. They keep 15 players in the practice squad, and during the season, it's just in and out. It's a revolving door. Players come and go. And the Rams ended the 2022 season with these 15 players on the roster, on the practice squad roster. And that shows you, like, man, do you remember these names? Roger Carter Jr., tight end. Remember, he actually had a couple of plays last preseason and people were high on him. The Rams at one time last year had two TJ Carters. There was TJ Carter, the DT, who is still with the team, and there was TJ Carter, the defensive back, who is now playing for the Birmingham Stallions. Braden Thomas, Max Percher, although he was the European exception, the Rams let him go after his 2-year stint, and now he is signed with the Detroit Lions. Still in camp with the Rams, Zach Van Valkenburg. Jeremiah Colon, God bless him, the cop. God bless him for what he tried to do last year. Malcolm Brown, quarterback Case Cookus, Philadelphia Stars, USFL. Center Cole Turner, journeyman guy, signed for depth. Wide receiver Jaquari Roberson. He is currently a free agent. Khalil Davis, defensive tackle for the Birmingham Stallions. Richard LeCount, he's still in Rams camp. Wide receiver Lance Lenore, he's with the Orlando Guardians of the XFL. Wide receiver Jarrett Stearns, 5'9" guy. Was it Houston Baptist? I'm trying to remember where he played. He is a free agent now. And Brock Miller, punter, New Jersey Generals. So literally 15 guys were on the practice squad at the end of last year. Only 2 of them are still around. This is a tough life these guys go through. This is a tough existence they have to get to pursue their dreams. And they come and they go. And one of the things I do find fascinating still about Hard Knocks, is player makes the team on August 31st, and then 2 days later or 3 days later, someone else becomes available, and they're all excited because at least they made the practice squad, and then they get cut because somebody else got signed. Real tough existence. You have respect for those guys that keep going, but at a certain point, they all have to make the call. Okay, this date in Rams history, got some birthdays to look at. Born on this date in 1981, OJ Atogwe turns 42. Remember OJ Atogwe, number 21, free safety? Rams drafted him 3rd round, 66th overall in 2005 out of Stanford, and he was fantastic for the Rams. Played 6 seasons at free safety, started 75 out of 88 games, 22 interceptions, had some big plays. I remember a pick 6, remember his big scoop and score. Had a nice run with the Rams. He kind of got started kind of late. He was a Canadian. When the Rams got him, he was 24. So they've got his ages 24 through 29, and then he left as a free agent and signed with the Washington Redskins at the time in 2011. He played 1 season there and was done at the age of 30, and he was released. I thought it was interesting that Atogwe wore number 21, like Eddie Meter and Nolan Cromwell, some great safeties of the past. Also, currently, Russ Yeast wears number 21 and playing safety. Some important Rams in the past: Dexter McLean, defensive back on the Greatest Show on Turf team. He wore 21, and John Hadle, 1973 through half of 74, he wore 21. Pretty cool seeing your quarterback wear 21 in those days. One of the things I thought was interesting about Atogwe is stood out for the Rams, played well, got a big contract, went to the Redskins. Adam Archuleta was a workout phenom. He was a beast, right? 1st round, 20th overall, 2001 by the Rams. He played 5 years for the Rams, and I think people really liked him. Then after that 5th season, he signed a big, fat free agent contract with the Redskins. I don't know if it was 6 years at 30 Rocks, 5 years at 30 Rocks. At the time, it made him the highest paid safety in the NFL, in NFL history. After 1 season, by mid-season, he was benched. And after 1 season, he was traded to the Atlanta Falcons. When you think of Adam Archuleta, he was a prehistoric version of Taylor Rapp. There was some talk after his career as a safety started to fall apart that he could come in and play linebacker. Archuleta struggled mightily in coverage. And you think he was an earlier version of Taylor Rapp. If Wembayama is a later version of Ralph Sampson, Taylor Rapp is a later version of Adam Archuleta. So anyway, I digress. Happy birthday, OJ Atogwe. Also born on this day in 1990, bears mentioning, is Rodney McLeod. He turns 33. He was a UDFA, an undrafted free agent out of Virginia in 2012. Again, right when Les Snead was first starting as GM for the Rams. He played for the Rams from 2012 through 2015. He's a 3-year starter, never missed a game. And then he found out, right? Play safety and find out. That's, there's blank around and find out in the culture. Play safety for the Rams and find out. He found out the Rams weren't going to re-sign him. He signed with the Eagles, played with them for 6 years, 2016 through 2021. He even won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Last season, he had a really nice year with Indy. I think he was 8th overall out of 119 free safeties graded by PFF. He had a really good year. And he signed as a free agent with the Cleveland Browns, which is interesting because the Browns put on the market former Ram safety John Johnson. They didn't want to pay off his contract, so they kicked him to the curb. And essentially, he's being replaced by Rodney McLeod if he can crack the lineup. So Rodney McLeod, I really liked him as a safety for the Rams. It's always heartbreaking to fall in love with these Rams safeties. Tomorrow, since we're not going to be on the air, Duval Love turned 60. Duval Love was a 6'3", 275 right guard for the Rams out of UCLA. 10th round, 274 overall in 1985. The Rams were just butchering drafts. Mike Schad, Donald Evans. I mean, they were just, and then of course they butchered almost all the picks with Eric Dickerson. But in the later rounds, they found a few gems. And in the 10th round of the 85 draft, they found Duval Love. Love spent 7 seasons with the Rams, 3 years as a starter at right guard. He did a solid job as the team was in transition and all the evil of the early 90s. He went to Pittsburgh, and in his 10th season, his third with Pittsburgh, he went to the Pro Bowl at the age of 31, first time. And then he spent the last 2 seasons of his career, a 12-year career in Arizona. Duval Love, man, that's a nice career to etch out when you're 10th round pick. Good for him. But he played right guard at 6'3", 275. Between 2011 and 2013, the Rams had a guard named Harvey Dahl who played right guard. And it's his birthday today. He is 42. He was born in 1981. Dahl played right guard at 6'5", 306. He was also an undrafted free agent out of Nevada who spent 3 years in Atlanta and then spent 3 years for the Rams. Rams cut him at the end of the 2013 season. He was in March of 2014, he was a salary cap casualty, and the Rams moved on from him as Roger Saffold moved into his position, and his career pretty much ended right there. But Harvey Dahl, you might remember him. I think he was 62. I'm trying to remember what number he was. 6'5", 306, gave the Rams 3 years as a starter. And then also today, current Ram Tremaine Ankrum, who's trying to win the right guard position because we think left guard's going to go to Steve Avila. Tremaine Ankrum, 6'2", 314. He was a 7th round pick out of Clemson. He turns 25, and we're really hoping that Tremaine Ankrum stays healthy this year because if he can stay on that roster, stay active, he really is a great depth piece for the Rams. I don't see him winning the job, but if he does, awesome for him. Okay, moving on to the week by week the Rams are playing. We're going each week, each episode, we're doing another week of the Rams schedule, and we're looking at just the defenses, and we're looking at the offenses the next time we go around because, hey, it's a long summer. But today, week 10, the Rams are in a bye week. Coming out of a bye week, the Rams are 4-2 in the McVay era. So that's hopeful. Right now, as we've gone through the first 9 games of the season, I have the Rams at 3-6. I did give them a win last week in Lambeau because I think the defense is going to start coming around, and they were playing Jordan Love. And I'm not completely negative on Jordan Love. It's just I think this Rams defense will improve and find its footing by midseason. And so they're going to come out of the break at 3-6. But this is what they get. They get the Seahawks at home. They go to Arizona. They get the Browns at home. They go to Baltimore. They get the Texans and the Giants and the Saints at home. Then on New Year's Eve, they go to New York to play the Giants, and then they end the season in Frisco. Now, this is what's fascinating to me is that I think, I really do, if this defense has found its footing, then I think the Rams in SoFi can beat the Seahawks. I do. As depleted as they were last year, they should have beat the Seahawks. I think this team could beat the Seahawks at home. I think they could beat the Cardinals anywhere, any place, anytime. I think they'll beat the Browns at home. That would make them 6-6. And then they play a December 10th game at Baltimore against the Ravens. And that's where it gets tricky. First, you're going on the road. That's a tough environment. They're a well-coached team, but you have to wonder, who's going to be the quarterback? Tyler Huntley, Anthony Brooks? Because are you telling me that Lamar Jackson's going to make it to December 10th without an injury? It's going to be really interesting to see. And that game's kind of a toss-up for me. So I'm going to leave the Rams at 6-6 and come back to it. At home against the Texans and the Saints, I could see the Rams winning those 2 games, going 8-6. I could see them. This one's tough. I'm having memories of Everett going to Flipper in the Meadowlands to win a playoff game in sudden death. I am going to go with the Rams beating the Giants in that game. So I could see them at something like what would they be? 3-6, 4-6, 5-6. Taxkins, Saints, 7-6, 8-6. I could see the Rams going to 9-6, and then I could see them losing to the 49ers in Frisco, so they'd be 9-7. And I haven't called that Ravens game, and that Ravens game is really interesting. If they lose to the Ravens, I could see the Rams being 9-8, and that right into the mean of where we thought they'd be. If they win that game, they could be 10-7 and playing for a playoff spot in the weak NFC. And I do think it's possible especially if Lamar Jackson, who, people think I don't like. I like Lamar Jackson. He just gets hurt a lot. If he's not playing, it changes everything. So it'll be interesting to see a younger Ram defense that catches its stride, also younger, gaining some experience, and also younger and snapping back quicker from injuries. Little those bangs, those nicks and bruises that happen. So I definitely think it's a strong possibility that back half of the Rams season is the one to watch. You just got to be able to survive the first half of the season. All right. Cool. It was a stone groove, but it's not over yet because we have to answer the trivia question. The trivia question was, Rams linebacker Kevin Greene was a firm supporter of the military. So much so that he enlisted and worked his way up to which rank? A, corporal, B, captain, C, lieutenant, or D, general? And the answer is Kevin Greene was an ROTC guy. He enlisted as a lieutenant, and he actually served time as a paratrooper. Not surprising that Kevin Greene would be willing to jump out of a perfectly functioning aircraft. So that's the Kistler Law Firm trivia question of the day. Kevin Greene was actually was an Army lieutenant and a paratrooper. So good question. Good thing for today. Great harken back to Kevin Greene. Great career. May he rest in peace. Okay. That is the show. And so it was the show. And I'm not going to be here next week. I can't believe it either. I'm going to be at summer camp. I'm actually doing training sessions for CITs. We take a small group of young people and we train them and prepare them to be junior counselors in training at our campground, Granite Ridge Christian Camp. And I'm the outsiders director among my other hats that I wear. And so that's where I'm going to be next week. I'm also at an assembly in Pismo. So I will not be on the air next week. Fair warning. Don't get mad at me if you think I'm cheesing out. We'll be back July the 3rd and ready to rumble with more Rams talk. God bless. Take care. Please hit like, hit subscribe, sign up. And help us as we continue to build our footprint. And again, we thank you for the steps we're taking, even the steps on Spotify. Be sure to click on. All right, folks. God bless. Take care. You guys have a great week, and I'll talk to you on July the 3rd.